Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But the month of February has begun. Today is the first show of the month of February. It's the 3rd of February 2025, and these are the stories that we will be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the nexus of the Afghan Interim Government and the fitna that has been exposed. Pakistan has been trying to expose it many a times with the different kinds of weaponry that has been found within Pakistan that is being used in terrorist attacks, and those who have been found and killed subsequently by our armed forces that have been found to have either direct or indirect links with the fitna in Afghanistan. To add to that are the different reports that have come from different areas concerning the weaponry, whether it be the cigar report, whether it be Donald Trump, whether it be Marco Rubio and others. Is the current Afghan interim government in a tight spot now that the different revelations have come in as far as its association with the different nefarious outfits, including the fitna al-Khawarij, is concerned? This and more will be discussed in our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, today concerns the Indian brutalities in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. There is no end as far as those brutalities are concerned. As per different media reports, there have been casualties just in the month of January alone. 11 Kashmiris have been killed, 37 detained by Indian troops in the last month alone, and that adds to the figure of more than 95,000 that have been killed in the last few decades. The fact also remains that India denies the basic right to self-determination to the people of the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and is trying to put all kinds of pressure tactics so that they can remain mum, and the real issue and the real voice of the people of the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir does not come out. This is going to be part of our second story. Then we are going to talk about the anti-polio campaign that has begun from today in different parts of the country. The Prime Minister unveiled it officially yesterday, and now the whole campaign has begun from today. We all know that one case of polio has already been found in Pakistan, and that adds to the number of cases that were found last year as well. And this of course adds to the resolve of the current government to do the needful as far as tackling the issue of polio in Pakistan is concerned. Then we are going to talk about the 74th death anniversary of the prominent leader of the Pakistan movement who carved, conceived, coined the word Pakistan. We all learnt it when we were going through our high school. Chaudhry Rehman Ali. His 74th death anniversary is being observed across the world, including in Pakistan today. Finally, the 67th Grammy Awards, ladies and gentlemen, took place in the US last night, but of course early this morning in Pakistan. That's why we are adding this news to it, wherein Beyonce got one of the coveted prizes that she had never gotten in previously. There were many other recipients of different awards as well, and we'll highlight those who managed to get these awards this year. This is the lineup for today. Let's begin with our show, and our first segment concerns the nexus of the Afghan interim government or the Afghan Taliban and the fitna al-Khawarij or the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. We've been joined by two guests, one in the studio, one online in the studios. We've been joined by Brigadier retired Masud Ahmed Khan Sahib. He's a defense analyst, and thank you very much, sir, to have joined us on this very, very important issue. We've also been joined by Hassan Khan, who's an Afghan affairs expert online. Hassan, thank you very much to have joined us as well. We'll begin with you, Brigadier Sahib. Brigadier Sahib, this evidence that has come up regarding the nexus between the Afghan Taliban and the fitna al-Khawarij is nothing new. I think we have discussed in many shows with you in the past as well. This nexus that is not only between the Afghan interim government and the fitna, but also between the fitna and other terrorist outfits within Pakistan, such as the BLA and others. The Afghan authorities refuse to receive the body of one Badruddin alias Yusuf, who is the son of the deputy governor of the Baghdis province of Afghanistan, and was identified by the forces in an incident that happened between the 30th and the 31st of last month. Why is the Afghan interim government so reluctant to receive his body? Because it exposes them?
Exactly, that is the case. In the past, we have seen number of times as the involvement of Afghan Taliban facilitating the attacks. Moreover, we have seen attack the nexus between Afghan Taliban and fitna al-Khawarij, and also in coordination with Al-Qaeda. They carried out attacks across Pakistan, mainly when we talk of attacks on our posts in the Chitral area. So that was the coordination between them. As per the record, there are 66 Afghan nationals. They were killed inside Pakistan by our security forces when they were fighting alongside with the fitna al-Khawarij. out of 27 suicide attacks which were carried out in Pakistan, 17 were Afghan nationals. So there was the attacks which were the suicide attack which were carried out against Chinese national, the Dasu attack as well as the Basham attack. Afghan nationals, they were involved. So even the last year report which was carried by the United Nations Analytical Support and Sanction Monitoring Team, so they also highlighted this importance nexus between Fitna al-Khawarij and the Afghan Taliban government. So it is evident, but at the same time, in this particular case of this son of Deputy Governor of Baghdad province, at the same time they are glorifying his death as a so-called Shaheed, but they are not accepting with this fear of they will be exposed to the international community. So there is no doubt as far as the international community is concerned, Pakistan is concerned, the Afghan Interm Govt is 100% they are involved in these terrorist attacks across Pakistan. So they are supporting, facilitating it, everything. And their recruitment, as said, this is very important. Recruitment they are getting mainly now from Afghanistan as well.
All right, Brigadier Sahab, also I feel to understand, you said, that they are afraid, the Afghan Interim Government is afraid that this news will go to the international bodies, but doesn't the world already know what is happening, what the Afghan Interim Government is up to, although they turn a blind eye, and they have turned in the past as well, but they know exactly what is happening. All the intelligence agencies of the world know exactly what is happening within Afghanistan. What is the responsibility of the global powers in this context?
With the recent development, and I see, and as per my appreciation, there's a positive indicator as far as United States is concerned.
All right.
The President Trump has made a statement even before taking oath as the president, and more recently, he has asked Afghan Taliban to return our weapons. He has suspended the financial support, the assistance which was being provided to Afghan Taliban, and secondly, he has also suspended the resettlement of Afghans in United States. Around 25,000 there in Pakistan, even 10,000 they were they were supposed to be flown to United States. So that is one thing. Another thing is the Tulsi Gabbard, she appeared before the Senate committee for her confirmation as a Director National Intelligence. She conveyed her concern of the emerging threat from Afghanistan when she informed the committee that there is a sizable presence of Al-Qaeda as well as Islamic State inside Afghanistan. Similarly, Mark Rubio, as you highlighted, he has also conveyed his concern of the Afghan Taliban, of their human rights violation, at the same time of stopping females from the education, etc. So there is a concern internationally when we talk of United States, similarly in the West, and regional countries, certainly whether China, Russia and Central Asian republics, they have already conveyed their concern of the emerging threat. The Afghanistan has become a breeding ground as far as terrorism is concerned. Now they are exporting terrorism not only to Pakistan, to Central Asian region, and subsequently one of the conclusion was of the recently a study I read, that the TTP with the alliance, with the nexus with Afghan Taliban as well as with Al-Qaeda has become an international threat.
All right, it has become an international threat, and I see the realization coming at least from the United States. Maybe that will lead to tangible results. Hassan Khan joins us online. Hassan, thank you very much to have joined us. Hassan, Pakistan has time and again urged the Afghan Interim Government or the Afghan Taliban regime to focus on fighting the terrorist groups that continue to threaten the security of our country. Should Pakistan, in your point of view, offer some kind of counter-terrorism cooperation to the Afghan Interim Government if they are unable to control these terrorist groups? And speaking of being unable to control these terrorist groups, is there, in your point of view, a reluctance to fight the fitna within the Afghan Interim Government?
Thank you very much. But look, I think that the situation in Afghanistan is very fluid, and even the internal differences are now emerging, and it's quite obvious now within the Taliban. And already, Taliban were facing different challenges on various fronts. One is definitely the internal security is very fragile, and the IS or the Daesh is hitting them and in various parts, especially their senior leadership is being targeted north, south, and east, west of the country. On the other hand, the Afghan diaspora, especially those who are using the social media, they are very much against Pakistan and blaming Afghan Taliban as the representative of Pakistan, because historically they believe that Afghan Taliban have been in Pakistan and they were fighting, and they were fighting when they were living inside Pakistan. At the moment, I think this CT cooperation between Pakistan and Afghanistan, it will be a bit difficult, even for Afghan Taliban to accept it, because the Afghan diaspora and within Afghanistan, there is a lot of efforts have been done to create anti-Pakistan sentiments, and it's almost now within the former Mujahideen or the former nationalists or even the Taliban too. So I think for Pakistan, the best is now to reach out to Kabul and directly engage Kabul. That will be the only option, because other options which Pakistan has so far exercised. Pakistan has, I think, taken severe actions, especially as far the Afghan trade is concerned. It has been made a bit difficult during the past few months, and Pakistan also tried to strike the hideouts of the terrorists across the border. But these things, I think, have little impact on the Taliban policy. They were not, I think, that much cooperative to act against the hideouts or the training centers or the living quarters which are being used by the TTP. And I think there is a group within, and there is a very strong group within the Taliban, within Amarat-e-Islami, who are supporting the TTP for the reason that they believe that when they were living in Pakistan and when they were fighting against the Americans or the former Afghan governments, so it was the TTP which was providing them all the facilities, even providing them men and material, both for the Afghan Taliban. So they are in a way feeling what is called an Afghan culture, that they are now trying to pay the same back. And it's unfortunate that they are not realizing that on one side, if the TTP helped them out in certain ways, on the other side, it was the government, it was the people of Pakistan who are being hosting millions of Afghans, and even the Taliban when they were fighting against the American for 20 years. So mostly their families were here, they were getting medical assistance, and their families were well settled here.
Hassan Khan, to be very frank, Pakistan has always been there for Afghanistan, and we've seen that in the last couple of decades. You've been witness to it, I've been witness to it. But the fact is, it's very strange that despite all that assistance, despite being there for our brotherly country, the reaction that has been coming from since 2021 specifically is something strange, to say the least. Stay online with us. Brigadier Saab, you talked about the US reaction to it. I'd also like to add to it the US Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, Segar, who warns that US assistance has not dissuaded the Taliban from taking US citizens hostage or allowing the country to become a terrorist safe haven. We know that there are 2 American hostages still present within Afghanistan. That is also what Marco Rubio was alluding to. Is this the official? They also talk about the $3.71 billion in US expenditure since the 2021 withdrawal that they say has gone to different humanitarian organizations, to the UN. But there are a lot of questions regarding that. Would you like to add to that?
Yes, exactly. Let's understand the disparity. The Americans, they funded, they gave $143 billion in the last 20 years when Ashraf Ghani and Karzai they were ruling Afghanistan. So whereas in case of Pakistan, in those 20 years, we were given $30 billion, and out of $30 billion, $18 billion was for the coalition support fund. So understand the disparity. We were the basically strategic ally with Americans fighting war on terror, but that much amount was given to us. There are two reports. One report which has been now carried by SIGA, another report which says they were given $18 billion in the last 3 years. And out of this 18 billion, let's understand, $18 billion, $6 billion annually, and $160 million on daily basis that was given to the Afghan Taliban. And as per the SIGAR report says, it is 3.7 billion, and out of this 3.7 billion, 65% was paid to United Nations organizations and the NGOs. So therefore, the Afghan Taliban, they created fake NGOs to get that amount, specific amount against for their own motives and subsequent. And another thing is, the report which was carried by SIGA last year, they highlighted the discrepancy of $293 million. That amount was missing. So where that money actually went, and so the nexus is the illegal spectrum is visible from here. This money went to the terrorist organization that the organization they were funded. So, but despite the fact this much amount was given to them right from 2001 and subsequently in the last 3 years, we haven't seen any improvement on ground. When you see the poverty on ground, the human rights violation, and the steps taken by the Afghan Taliban government for when we talk of female education, at the same time the human rights violation and the
backing of terrorist elements, above all the backing of terrorist elements that are not only creating havoc in Pakistan but also could prove to be extremely dangerous for the Central Asian countries, for other neighbors and for the US.
Exactly, that is the fact. No, Afghanistan has become a breeding ground for these terrorist organizations in Afghanistan, and now they are threatening. No, beside this, as I said, TTP, the Fitna al-Khawarij has become a international threat. There are two other organizations, Islamic State of Khorasan has become a threat, and which was acknowledged previously by General Kurela, Tom West, and so many other US officials, and then Al-Qaeda. The 9/11 was basically the oppression which American, when they invaded Afghanistan, it was after 9/11 against Al-Qaeda. So Al-Qaeda has re-emerged in Afghanistan. In 4 provinces they have established their bases now. So they are, along with nexus with Afghan Taliban, they are basically minting money, dollars, through the drug trafficking. So last year report was they got $193 million through the sale of these drugs from Afghanistan. So they are also controlling the drug trafficking routes and mines and minerals in Afghanistan. So that is the threat now which Afghanistan is posing to not only to the region but to as a global peace. And probably I think the Americans, they have realized the threat now which is emanating from Afghanistan is real.
All right, finally the realization comes. Hassan Khan, the recent attacks in Balochistan, 22 security personnel embraced martyrdom in Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa over the last few days, and these two are the hotspots, and all of this is happening through the Afghan borders with the Fitna al-Khawarij and such elements that are creating havoc in these two provinces. What do the Fitna intend to achieve through such attacks, in your point of view?
It's quite unfortunate. I don't believe that this fitna has any specific objectives. Just they are destabilizing Pakistan on the behest of others. Just look at the situations from where this fitna is getting the funding, how they are getting the trainings, and who is financing them, and what are their targets, what they want to achieve in Pakistan. So have you ever seen their objectives in written forms, or have you ever seen especially in their media, their only thing, the only objective is to to weaken Pakistan, and especially look at the areas where this fitna is operating, whether it is in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, whether it is in Balochistan. It is the area where your CPAC is being grounded, where most likely the future investment of Pakistan is, I think, is there. So definitely, I don't believe that this TTP or this fitna, it's operating on its own, or it has any objective of having a land or having a certain system. It's just I think somebody from behind is managing them, and they are working for it. Is working.
Very
It's
important
not.
point. And Hassan Khan, I'm going to take you on it. Last question to you, Brigadier Saab. Our Chief of the Army Staff vows Saturday that the armed forces are going to hunt down frenemies among the nation who are targeting the state. Now, when Hassan Khan, points towards backers of the fitna, what is the Chief of the Army Staff as well as Hassan Khan? What are the elements that are behind these attacks that propagate violence within Pakistan?
First, which is without any doubt that is Afghanistan, but behind the scene and basically overtly, the Indians raw, they are instrumental. Basically, as he said, the planning goes to them. The ideas, the conceiving an operation to be executed. The basic aim is to destabilize Balochistan or elsewhere. But at the same time, they are trying to create fear, panic, instill fear. At the same time, demoralize people. So, and there are other powers behind them. They want to destabilize Pakistan. So, Chief has made it like the idiom was used, hunting with hounds and running with the hare. So, that is the fact. There are people who are telling us that we are friends with you, but at the same time, they are trying to destabilize the country from behind the scenes. So, but a categoric message has been given by the Chief of Army Staff that definitely we will take action against these killings in the Balochistan area. At the same time, wherever they will go, they will be hunted down.
All right. Thank you very much, Brigadier Masud Ahmed Khan Sahab, to have joined us. Thank you very much, Hassan, to have joined us. We're a bit short of time, or else would have continued this discussion another time with pleasure. We have to go to a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and our second segment today concerns Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and the brutalities that have been going on unabated since the last few decades. Around 96,408 Kashmiris have been martyred by the Indian forces since 1989, and just in the month of January alone, 11 Kashmiris were killed while around 37 were detained by Indian troops just in 1 month's time. And this is something that has been going on by the so-called world's largest democracy and pluralistic country. We've been joined by two guests to talk more about the plight of the people in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. In the studios, we've been joined by Farzana Qaqoob, who is a former minister of Azad Jammu and Kashmir. Thank you very much, ma'am, to have joined us. And online, we've been joined by Abdul Basit, who is a research officer with CISS in Azad Jammu and Kashmir. Basit, thank you very much to have joined us as well. We'll begin with you, ma'am. The people, their misery, the lack or the denial of their right to self-determination that has been going on since decades in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and then to add to their misery what happened on the 5th of August 2019. And the brutalities continue, as I have said in the introduction of this whole segment. What is the intention of the Indian government behind all of this?
The intention of the Indian government has always been very clear, and that is that India does not have any space for any minority, and the poster child for no minorities is Kashmiris. It is very easy to maim, to debilitate, to abuse Kashmiris, because as you can see, the world has nothing to say about it other than generating a few reports. So we've been treated with a barrage of words and different sets of vocabularies and nuances, and we appreciate all of that, but to date there has been no action, and India understands that, and it pushes it more and more, because that is the space that India is creating. But
or has been given to it to create.
Indeed, indeed, and India feels very sure about what it can get away with. But I think the silver lining, in all honesty, that I have seen in the recent events is what has happened in Bangladesh. I think that is a huge lesson that India has learnt, that no matter how much it invests, no matter how much it twists or tries to pressurize a set of people, someday they rise, and when they rise, they not only push back but they take away all that has been taken away from them. And I see that as an opportunity, as a sign of hope that inshallah that will be possible for Kashmir as well. So the world might is always welcome to send its verbal condolences to us, commiserations to us, but the actions have to be taken by us, the Kashmiris. Azad Jammu Kashmir being the base camp has to really step up its game for us to be able to achieve the goal that we desire.
And we've been helping Pakistan politically, morally, diplomatically as well in the last few decades, and as you said, this needs to maybe be amped up. Basit, coming to you, what is the global responsibility when it comes to these brutalities? Because I don't think this is a secret to the world powers of what India is perpetrating in the Indian Hill Valley.
Iiojk has been transformed into a heavily militarized zone with over 1.5 million troops stationed in the valley. One soldier for every 9 civilians, making it one of the most densely militarized areas in the world. This occupation has resulted in the deaths of 96,408 Kashmiris since 1989, with numbers continuing to rise. In January 2025 alone, at least 11 civilians were killed and 37 were detained under the false pretext. So the Modi-led BJP government views militarization as a primary tool to sustain its occupation and impose demographic and political hegemony over Kashmir. The introduction of domicile laws allowing non-Kashmiris to settle in the region and the expansion of military cantonments serve to erase Kashmiri's identity and facilitate the settler colonial project India envisions. So the global community's responsibility in this regard is paramount. The United Nations, the Organizations of Islamic Cooperation, and human rights watchdogs must not only document these atrocities, but also take tangible actions, including economic and diplomatic pressure to hold India accountable. However, with the key global actors like the United States prioritizing the strategic partnerships with India, and the likelihood of concrete intervention remains minimal. This further emboldens India to continue its brutal suppression, making international advocacy and regional alliances even more critical.
All right, that is interesting. International advocacy, why is the world silent, ma'am? And secondly, the human rights abuses that have been going on unabated. Where are the so-called champions of human rights that have highlighted every other issue across the world, but that of the illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir?
Well, for the world, we get to hear that it is too busy with other crises. So there is this urgent management of issues that need to be addressed before Kashmir. That is the kind of responses that we receive. Also, this impression that maybe Kashmiris within Kashmir are not facing the kind of brutalities that we insist that we are.
They feel that they are lying, basically.
Yes, and the fact, like in Palestine, you have all news agencies present on ground. You have all NGOs, INGOs present on ground. Now look at Kashmir. You are not allowed to enter Kashmir. INGOs are not allowed to enter Kashmir. Journalists are not allowed to enter into Kashmir. There is no reporting from ground zero. And still the world believes that no, it is not as bad as they say. No, it's not bad, it's worse. And the fact that the watchdogs are unable to perform the duty that they should be is a huge question mark on not only the integrity of these organizations, but also the acceptability of a fact that sometimes the world does allow countries to get away with human rights abuses. Sometimes it does allow some countries to kill and maim and abuse people without any accountability. And that has been a sad precedence for Kashmir for a very long time. Now what we have to look at is like currently the way United States is changing its stance under the new administration of Trump. Now that is very interesting. Israel has been stopped from attacking Palestine, especially Gaza, but at the same time this Trump administration wants Gaza to be completely evacuated of the people that have lived there forever and ever. So there is this very interesting juxtaposition of, trying to look good, but actually getting all bad work
So
done.
that's very interesting. Do you feel just such a juxtaposition could be also used in the case of the Indian held valley?
I suspect it could be, because with this new administration and the way things are progressing, anything they can come out, they can bring out any rabbit from their cap. And so we have to see what has to be done. Once again, we need to be very vigilant. We shouldn't be surprised, like everyone was surprised in 2019 while Kashmiris were saying that the actions of 5th August 2019 were mentioned in BJP's manifesto. Most probably the expected future actions might not be mentioned in any manifesto of an American political party or an Indian political party. But if we really look at the actions that are taking place at this point of time, we shouldn't be surprised by sudden change of events.
Alright, in this sudden change of events is the resolve of the Kashmiri people, those of illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, that remains steadfast despite the brutalities, despite the violence, despite the maiming, despite the incarceration, despite the lack of basic facilities to the people of the held valley. But there is also one more thing that adds to that, their desire to seek accountability, their desire to seek justice, their right to self-determination. Will they ever get this well-deserved accountability?
We could. We cannot afford to lose hope. There's also this impression that we get to see and feel that, Kashmiris are protesting, are rising against India because of a quiet support by Pakistan. People forget that it is a very indigenous movement. Kashmir is being harassed by the Indian government. The government is the terrorist in this region, and it is not Kashmiris. And so we have no choice but to fight back. We have all the rights that every human being has to live and to let live. So whether there is any kind of support or not, material, verbal, Kashmiris will keep on protesting, because we cannot just silently allow India to kill us. At least we have the power and the bravery, the courage to fight back. Kashmiris do not have any ammunition. The kind of ammunition that Indian forces have is latest, is lethal and unbelievably brutal. But they call it pellet guns, which kind of gives you a feeling that, oh, it is mild. No, it is as brutal and lethal as any other bullet. It can kill you if it is hit to you at a close distance. But the way, they use words to make it sound like, it isn't as bad as it is. No, it is worse. And Kashmiris have no choice but to resist. Kashmiris cannot, afford to lose hope. Because, okay, fine, today Kashmiris lose hope, but the children who have been brought up in these looking and experiencing these brutalities, how do you change them? How do you expect them not to get away from this ruthlessness, from this abuse,
No,
from this killing?
The whole situation is ingraining them in a certain pattern. I hope this doesn't this ends sooner than later, before the repercussions could be disastrous. We have to go to a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Let's move to Abdul Basit, who joins us from Azad Jammu and Kashmir. Basit, I'd like to understand, many legal experts talk about India's demographic changes in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, that you have pointed as well, that violate international law and amount to a war crime under the 4th Geneva Convention. How important, in your point of view, does the role of the UN become now under the current circumstances? It was always important, but now, what needs to be done by the UN in the year, say, 2025?
The United Nations has a legal and moral responsibility to intervene in the Kashmir dispute, as it remains an unresolved international conflict under United Nations Security Council resolutions. The demographic changes India is imposing, settler colonialism through domicile laws, volatile the 4th Geneva Convention, Article 49, which prohibits an occupying power from transferring its population to occupied territory. However, the UN's failure to enforce its resolutions has 3 points. Eroded its credibility as an effective mediator in international disputes, embodied selective activism as seen in its swift responses elsewhere, as a case of Ukraine, but continued inaction on Kashmir, allowed India to normalize its illegal actions, using diplomacy and economic leverage to mute criticism. Unless the UN exerts real pressure through sanctions, a peacekeeping mission, or legal action, its relevance as an arbitrator or mediator of peace will continue to decline.
All right, thank you very much to have joined us, Abdul Basit, Research Officer CISS from Azad Jammu and Kashmir, and thank you very much, Ma'am Farzana Yaqoob, former Minister from Azad Jammu and Kashmir, to have joined us. It's always a pleasure when you are here, because I know that I'm in the company of somebody who understands the issue of the illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and their people. Thank you very much to have joined us. Let's come to our last 3 stories very, very quickly. The first concerns the anti-polio campaign that has begun from today, the first campaign of 2025 to vaccinate over 45 million children under the age of 5. Multiple mass vaccination drives have happened last year as well, and this year also there will be many such drives as well to rid our country of polio and this crippling disease that affects all the children that are not given the polio vaccine below the age of 5. It is a paralyzing disease, and the fact that it's very important that the people to which all these tens of thousands of workers go to give the drops need to understand the gravity of the situation and need to assist them in whichever way possible. Pakistan has had 1 polio case this year, but it had many cases last year. So let's hope that this 1 case remains 1 case and does not add up as far as the numbers are concerned. Then, ladies and gentlemen, the 74th death anniversary of prominent leader of the Pakistan movement who carved, conceived, coined the name Pakistan, Chaudhry Rehman, is being observed today in Pakistan and across the world. He was born in Hoshiarpur of district of Eastern Punjab on the 16th of November in 1897. He created the name Pakistan for a separate Muslim homeland in South Asia and is known as the founder of the movement for its creation. In 1933, he founded the Pakistan National Movement in England, and he is best known for the author of a famous pamphlet titled "Now or Never Are We to Live or Perish Forever." He passed away on this very day in 1951 and was buried in Cambridge in the United Kingdom. Of course, all our prayers go to him on this very day, because it is due to him that we got this name, and due to him that we got this resolve to carve out this nation along with all the others, including of course our Qaid Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, the 67th Grammy Awards held in the US last night, early this morning in Pakistan because of the time difference. And of course, Beyonce winning Album of the Year for the first time ever in the history. The Weeknd returning to the show after around 5 years. Up-and-coming singer Sharyl Rowan, who was in the Best New Artist Award. Not only Beyonce won the best the music Grammys, taking Album of the Year for the first time in her career, but she also won Best Country Album, becoming the first black woman to receive this honor. Shakira dedicated her best win for the Latin pop album to the immigrant brothers and sisters under the current situation. Of course, you are loved, you are worth it, and I will always fight for you. It is interesting to see, of course, how music evolves in the United States of America. It's also interesting to see how the different singers react to the situation that is being carved out in the United States of America, as was very evident by the different discourses that were present during the course of this show. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories and segments that pertain to you, us in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.